we have going to the second part of the show. We have the wonderful, the prolific Assemblywoman Britnee Timberlake, and she is here and she is hosting. And so, hello, say hi.
Hello, hello. What's up, party people?
And we have as your guest, we have a guest who has been on our show before, another legislator, and can introduce her, or I can introduce her.
So I'm very excited to be here today hosting, and additionally, I'm very excited to get an interview in today, Councilwoman of the Central Ward, no other than the great LaMonica.
Hey guys, how you doing? Hey, everyone.
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. You're looking well. Summertime.
I came from straight out of the heat, so I'm kind of toasty right now, but I'm good.
Very good.
Well, I'm just impressed to be in the midst of two people who are working very hard on behalf of the community. We have Assemblyman. You passed so much legislation, and Monica, I know that you are trying to pass an ordinance right now for security. So I'm just the city of Newark and the surrounding areas.
Yeah, well, listen, we're excited to be sitting next to you too, brother. So tell us about what it is that you're working on right now.
So legislatively, working nonstop on 1,000 things. We're preparing to go back to school. It seems like summer just started. But the piece that I'm working on, a new ordinance, I'm trying to amend a current security ordinance that's been on the book for years in the city. And basically, in short, for people that are listening, we have a situation where we have multiple buildings with over 100 residents in it, but there's one security guard running from building to building, or no security guard at all for that case. And basically, what we're trying to do is amend the ordinance to make sure that there's a security guard in each building of 100. And so that's what we're trying to work on. We're getting a lot of course, owners and developers, saying, "Oh, we can't." Or that's going to go into rent increases and so forth. And at the end of the day, those are just excuses to not have security. The city also has rent control, and so we're governed by different things that just doesn't allow owners or developers to hike up rent prices. They have to go through a process. And so we're trying to encourage residents to not be scared by that tactic, because we had that happen before. And at the end of the day, many residents had a lady in one building, she committed suicide in the hallway.
Wow.
And because at that time, that building, it wasn't a security guard. They were over another location, like it was 10 steps away, but they were in another building, So perhaps there was a security guard sitting at the booth at the time who was managing, the hallways in the building. You could see, okay, a person went in there and come out. It's been quite a while. You could go back on the person, on the individual. And so those encourage, these owners to basically, know that residents need security. They're paying for it. It's not anything that we're asking for that's unjust. So
now in the ordinance, do you have just have to hire, or is it like equipment, surveillance equipment that has to go with it?
I have a current ordinance on the book that says they have to have security cameras in every entrance of the building. So we have that. Many residents, sometimes when you go out, they're like, "That's not enough. We need security cameras on every floor." Right now, the ordinance doesn't, demand or require that. It's just to have security cameras on the entrances.
Right. And who's monitoring the cameras? How often are they viewed? What are they good quality cameras? Because I've seen issues with residents before where you say, there's maybe a robbery that happens, and they say, "Well, there's a camera right there," and then you go and pull the footage,
and the camera never works.
Like cameras from 1980s.
Correct.
Footage, like, come on, like it should be HD. Like you should be able to see what just occurred. So, or it doesn't work at all. Right? It's just the front. So, what are you going to legislation? Does it speak to that about the type of equipment, or also does it speak to what the security guards should be doing? Should they be patrolling halls? Are they going to sit down in the front like doormen? How does that work?
Got it. So this amendment doesn't deal with security cameras. It strictly deals with the units that are multi-dwelling, same complex maybe, and they have 100, and for there to be a station person. The ordinance also requires certain hours that they need to be present. And for example, we have a lot of townhouses, right, in the city of Newark, a lot of low, rises, they call them now. And so it even talks about what they should be doing, like getting up, walking around, monitoring the area. Those, of course, have more than 100 residents in them, and the family units in some cases. And so that's what this ordinance is. When I first was running for office, so many people who lived in units that were under, we need security. And back in, I think it was maybe January, I had tried to put forward an ordinance to deal with the under 100, but I had gotten so much pushback. I couldn't kind of support it. Sometimes people think and it's going to work, right? But no, I couldn't get the buy-in for it. And so I had to literally pull that ordinance back and kind of try to deal with piece by piece, you know, what I'm learning as a newbie council person.
Okay.
I'm really impatient, so I came in like, this is everything we're going to do. Get it done. And, you know, I kind of learned my lesson. They're like, no, we're not going to do that. It's going to be a problem. And so we're basically trying to work on something differently for the under 100 units.
Right,
you
because
know,
that's important too.
Exactly.
You know, the residents, they need that same level of security. 100 people. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
You need to have someone, you know, there.
And it's more than 100 people. It's 100 units. So those units,
the families. Absolutely. Well, I just want to commend you for doing that because it's good. And you're right. A lot of people think that, you know, when you write laws, you legislate, that it's just, why didn't you just do this? Government doesn't necessarily work fast. It's supposed to work, though. It is supposed to work efficient and well. So I see you trying to improve the processes, and that's what we need in our legislators, just someone who takes a look at the issues, come up with the solution, and then see it through. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to just shout out women in politics and in the space of the political world, right? Because I see Councilwoman Donna Williams here from Orange. We have Councilwoman from Newark, LaMonica, myself, and we're going to be talking about some legislation that I was happy to play a small part in, of course, but also was led by women. Senator Teresa Ruiz of Newark and Assemblywoman Myla Jacey of South Orange. And that's the land bank legislation, which I know is monumental here for the city of Newark and for many urban centers throughout New Jersey that are just dealing with blight. So what I'm talking about is if you have a vacant your home or there's a rundown house, this is a piece of legislation that is supposed to be able to empower the city of Newark to be able to remedy in a faster way than what other legislation has been able to do. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what that means to the city of Newark?
So I'm excited about it in the city. I know our mayor is excited about it. He
campaigned on it.
Correct. He went and campaigned. He went and spoke in front of the legislators and begged basically for it. And I'm happy that he did. I'm happy that we have a mayor that you know goes and fights for our city. And so we're excited about it. It's very new to us here in Newark, and the number one thing that we've been trying to do is educate. That's the number one piece of it. And so we had our first land banking session for the public to come in at City Hall. I think it was this past Wednesday, and we basically introduced it to them. You know what that means, what the general basis means. But in our city, we have over 2,500 vacant lots.
Wait, 2,500?
Yes, 2,500. In the Central Ward alone, I have about over 600, and that's a lot because I'm the ward with the most development. So that goes to just show you, so that goes to show you like how many there really is. And so we're excited about it. The number one reason why I'm excited about it is number one is to deal with the blight, deal with the illegal dump, and deal with the empty lots. To deal with that, but more so too to encourage Newarkers to buy land and give them the opportunity to do that. I feel like so many Newarkers aren't, you know, kind of running to the idea because they're like, oh, I can't own, it costs too much. Because that's what I thought before I bought my home. But it's like once you get into the education piece of it and they see what they can do, what's available to them, it's like, woo, I can do this. I can really do this. Yeah. And so I'm excited about that. We're trying to, I got this thing going every time I post. I'm like, buy up the block. It's like, buy up your block. Like, you know, you never know how much it costs. $4 a square foot, cheaper than that. You can get it. You know, you can get it.
Where do we go?
And so we're rolling that out right now with the piece. It's new. They like Assemblywoman just mentioned, they just signed it into into law. And so right now for Newark, we're trying to build up a land bank organization that's going to handle everything for us. And so they're in the process of doing that, but more so the council still needs to vote on the land banking piece itself. And so I understand that it's set to come to the council at the end of, the first meeting in August. And so the council will have the opportunity to look at the piece of law, look at the legislation, and, you know, work with it from that perspective. So once we get that going, then we're able to say, okay, now, you know, Jonathan, come on down. You can get the house from here. This is how you sign up, so forth.
And by the way, the land bank, what makes it so unique is it actually will make it so that it clears all the taxes and the liens that might be associated with property. A lot of times when you see these houses that are run down and boarded up and they're like that for years, it's not because people haven't tried to purchase them. It's that they have so many different liens attached to the property. So that means that they owed somebody, whoever owned that home before, owed so many people money that maybe the house really is probably worth $10,000. And I'm being generous if you look at some of these properties, right? But maybe it has $500,000 worth of liens on it. So nobody touches these properties. And what makes the land bank very interesting is that through the law, once the municipality or through their government, quasi government entity is able to capture the land into the land bank, that it will clear up those liens and things like that. So
it's like getting us a fresh start.
Yes,
you know, think of it like that. You're getting a fresh start. Plus, with our quasi government agency that we're trying to create, they get to apply for federal grants. They get to focus on that alone.
That's right.
And so that means that they can go after people or owners. It's not so much even just about the vacant land. It's about people that kind of like still own land, but they walk away from it. So they're not keeping. We got a lot of those too.
Right.
You know, people that moved away, like, oh, let that sit there. I ain't even coming back to cut the grass or pick up the trash on here. And so we have a lot of issues like that as well in the city.
I'm just, even when I go around either the West Ward, the South Ward, the Central Ward, like I see all these like homes with a bunch of garbage in the front. There seems to be no one living there. So this is
correct. It's going to help us deal with it. It's one piece to help us deal with it. And, you know, we have to be clear because it doesn't mean it's just illegal dumping or people illegally putting trash out is going to go away. It just means that if we're able to get owners on these properties, then it becomes their responsibility to look after it, and people won't be so tempted to go and just throw trash in front of it.
Particularly people that live within the community. That's what I'm most excited about. And you and I have a lot of things in common, but one of them being I love what you're doing about buy back the block. So in particular, in communities of color, we have a lot of wealth that has just been lost, because a lot of people that live outside of the state actually own the very neighborhoods that we live in. So, you know, I have some initiatives at the state that we're working on, such as, you know, when you go down to the foreclosure sale, being able to actually compete and buy back the wealth so that, as you know, Black people, our wealth is directly tied to our properties. And when we lose them in foreclosures or when they're sold to outside investors and things, and the outside investors maybe put a little bit of money in it and then flip it and then might sell it back to us, but they're selling it back to us at the top market rate. And by the way, that means that they extracted all of the wealth. But now we have the, you know, the asset. It's good. It makes us feel good. It's home, but it's not really worth that much by the time they're done with it. You see? So I love what you're doing with the buy back the block, because I think it complements the legislation that I'm currently trying to push through the state, which will allow and level the playing field for people who want to save their homes in foreclosure or who want to buy their home to live in it, not as an investment flip property, to be able to go down to that foreclosure sale and get the property back to preserve the wealth. So you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So basically what we've been trying to do is basically educate people on doing that. Like, you know, for example, I walked a block last week that had like 7 vacant lots on there. One previous block, you know, we're talking about like the Springfield Avenue and another avenue. It was like 7 vacant properties. And I talked to some of the residents about, hey, have you tried to like get it, you know, give any input to this property? Have you came in and checked on it? We know it's city owned. Have you tried to do something with it yourself? And most of the times, like, you know, it could be right next door to another home that you could turn into a parking lot, whatever you desire to do with it. But most of these people are going out cleaning it every day, making sure people aren't dumping on it.
So they're cleaning the city of vacant properties.
Yes, they are. Because the city, at the end of the day, we do our best. We try to go out and clean, but we don't have 24 surveillance on illegal dumpers. So the only way we know is when residents call us and say, look, somebody came and dumped on here. And sometimes residents are like, you know, it's a little bit trash. I'll go out there. I'll do it myself. I love my property. I don't want this trash in here. I don't want to wait for the city to come get it. And so they've been going out doing it. And we try to put them in the right, you know, give them the right pathway to seek the property first, because many people don't even know how to do that much.
Wait, so you're saying if I live next to a property that is abandoned or vacant or city owned, and there's a chance that I could buy that property for a low amount of money?
You don't even have to live next door to it. Anybody, any city owned property, somebody can inquire about it. And people do that every day. It's just that people who are engaged in that type of, stuff every day, buying up the developers, people who are used to the process. They know how to do it so well. But the people that live right here in the city, they don't. And so that is my responsibility. I feel like, to get the word out on how you do that. I need for you to do that. And it's also another way for us to fight against gentrification. Now that we have this land bank, I don't want to do this land bank for people from outside to run in here and take everything. I need for you to run right next door and get it, And so that is what we want to spend the next couple of months doing before we get this thing really off of the ground. Getting the idea in people's heads, Norca's heads. How do I get these properties? How do I do this? And it's easy once you get away to it. But developers are doing it every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's most of the battle, is getting people to understand the law, getting people to understand the policy, and then going through and going forward. Because the truth is that we have all the tools that we need to own our own communities. And it's not only about being Black, it's just about living within Newark, whatever ethnicity you are. From where I'm from, it's about living within East Orange. It's about living in that urban sector and being able to have an ownership stake in the community that you live, regardless of all of that. So I think it's really great that you're getting the word out about that program.
Yeah, we're trying
to empower people, right?
Yes, trying to empower people and also change the way our culture thinks. Like I said, you're right. It's every urban setting. It's changing our culture, the way we think as well. Instead of spending money on other things, let's spend money on some property. Your child cannot, you can't pass down a purse to your child. And sometimes, I'm serious, it's really talk to people, or an Xbox or some Jordans. Sometimes people are like, I paid $33,000 for these things. I'm like, for some sneakers?
Yeah, we have to change the mentality of our people. And it's also about financial literacy. Because although the opportunity is available, then are we ready for the opportunity?
Correct.
So it's also about pushing the whole financial literacy component, which I know the city of East Orange is definitely moving in that direction, which I'm happy. Potential collaboration with Orange as well.
And when you're saying financial literacy, is it kind of like, I'm not even going to look at property because my credit's bad?
Sometimes,
my credit just sucks,
sometimes that is
sometimes people don't even know about credit or how to even acquire to see what their credit is.
Or what credit is
perish for lack of knowledge.
Yeah,
that's the word. So we have to really, and I see myself, and I'm sure that you do as well, almost as an ambassador of getting the word out and sharing the knowledge with people so that they can then be empowered and do something about the situation.
The credit thing, people don't even know why they need credit.
Right.
They're like, oh, I got lots of money, but the credit, no credit. No.
What's your credit score? What?
Right.
It's tough.
And so all that is going to go on in the next month or so, right? Like in terms of what you're doing before this bank comes out.
Correct.
So it's just getting to the community and hey, we got property. It's about to can own that and change it.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Some of the things that we're going to be doing, kicking off these next couple of weeks, is we're going to be going out into the wards to host informational meetings. We have one down at City Hall. That's nice, but my key point is we have to focus on outreach, and so we're going to go out into the wards, have some meetings, talk to people, and try to grasp them in their neighborhoods to talk about the land banking and just in general what that means for the city of Newark. And so those are some of the things we have coming up that we're excited about.
Very good. Very good.
Definitely.
So, and we'll close with this, but we all have something else in common, and that is believing in empowering women.
Yes. Most definitely. Women are killing it.
We are,
in our community. No. Look, I love I always say, if it weren't for Black women, Black men would be nowhere.
Oh,
especially in our community right now.
Amen.
Before we go to questions to gals, that's the nonprofit that believe that empowered women empower other women, and mentorship major component of that. If you are listening, you're not mentoring someone, you need to start.
Yes,
that's what it's all about. Nobody gets to where they've gotten alone. It's through mentorship, and of course, I believe in my faith in God that I'm where I'm at today. So tell me about this nonprofit, Newark GALS. That's the acronym, GALS.
Yes. So GALS is Girls Acquiring Life Skills, and you hit it right on the nose. Is basically me and the young lady who started the organization back in 2012. It's been that long, it seems like. We basically talked about our journeys in life and how we got to where we were at now, or where we were at then, based off other women helping us. And we're like, we needed to create something that we can give other women the opportunity opportunities like to help young girls.
Yeah.
The everyday woman doesn't even understand how she can help another young girl. You know, sometimes they think I'm not up here, you know, or I'm not this CEO or this. Like, no, you can be a school teacher working. You can share your experience. Like, to me, I believe everybody has a testimony, and I think that those testimonies help other people. And for me, I think women help our young girls these days to be able to be successful, get to the point they need to be. And so organizations partner with other organizations to be successful, whatever that point may be, because everybody's thing is different.
Right.
And so basically it's exactly what it is. Girls acquiring the life skills, and we equip them with the life skills they need to get to where they're going.
Right.
So,
There's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women.
Yes, I saw that quote. I saw that quote.
You know, it just happened to be a coincidence. But that's what we say in our office.
And I would say not even a coincidence. The most educated people in the community are Black women. The people who vote the most are Black women.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, as an educator, if I want to get anything done, I gotta be cool with Black women, because if not, I can't get anything done.
True. Yeah.
We hold the world on our shoulders.
Legislative level, they're killing it at the state level. It's a lot of women that are just, I mean, every time I turn, I'm like, oh yeah, look at that, they're killing it. So definitely, women are killing it.
We're doing it. And it's because what I appreciate the most is the conversations that we have down in Trenton, and just like you and I, just as women electeds in general. We're not talking about, necessarily, the score of what's happening in pop culture and whatnot.
Right.
We're almost always talking about legislation. And then sometimes shoes, of course, right?
Well, all right.
Here really needs to be woke, because the truth is that if we're not paying attention to what the things LaMonica is doing, if we're not paying attention to the things that I'm doing and other elected officials, Councilwoman Donna Williams, these things that absolutely directly affect your life.
Right.
Every day I come home, I'm hearing something about what Donald number 45 told. You know what I mean? And it's like, but the truth is, I'm not mad at it. The racists, right? Isn't that something that in 2019 that we are actually justifiably calling a president of the United States of the free world?
Exaggeration.
Great, that people are tuning into national politics, but you really need to pay attention also what's happening locally.
Yes.
We're making decisions that affect everyday lives. So let's go to some questions. Councilwoman
Can I borrow your
Williams.
mic?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
Listen to the questions, guys. The first question is, can you adopt a lot or empty area and become a caretaker of that space? It does help with the appearance of the block. Question number 2. If you're from Brooklyn, New York, can you buy these lots from the city in Jersey, or do you already have to be a resident of Jersey?
Oh, okay. Those are good questions. So yes, you can adopt a lot right now. We have a adopt a lot actual program. People turn lots into gardens and community gardens and so things. And so you can do that if you want more information for years. Yeah.
And repeat the phone number.
It's 973-35870. And that's the information for adopting a lot. From the person in Brooklyn, no city land is designated to just certain people of a certain municipality or a certain state. Anybody is open to buy land in the city. And so if you're interested, definitely contact the city, about that. But for me as the councilwoman, I do have a special heart and a special preference to attract workers to come get the land first. But people from all over buy land in the city right now. So you're definitely, welcome. And the city of Newark welcomes new people to our city all the time. And so definitely you can call the same number to get more information on who you can contact. So definitely.
LaMonica, thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here.
Yes,
thank you for your work and your legislation.
Thank you.
Continue on. I'm telling all women in politics, please proceed.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
No, thank you. Right, this is not the first time that you've been here, and we definitely want to have you back a lot to talk about a lot more of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah,
representing the Central Ward.
That's right, Central Ward all day. Central Ward strong.
All right, so word.
You gotta ask her. You can't.
Right.
Yes. Who is your favorite rapper?
They ask me this all the time. It seems like it needs to be recorded somewhere. It needs to be like on record. Jay-Z is my favorite. I'm a hip hop fan, so I have plenty.
Yes.
But Jay-Z is definitely my favorite because he literally promotes what our communities need to be doing. What our young Black men need to be focused on, and of course, I'm talking about like the new Jay-Z.
I was about to ask you.
The old one is like selling drugs. Buying property.
No, I'm not talking about the reasonable doubt.
I love reasonable doubt. That's my favorite one.
So you're talking, okay.
I'm talking about like Beyonce. Look, Beyonce.
You talking about Still Jigga?
Yeah.
You talking about Still Jigga? I got it. I like that Jay-Z too. Yeah, I like Beyonce after Formation and all of that too.
Yes, we need you to focus on what he's talking about. So definitely, I'm gonna take Jay-Z. When you listen to him, you're like, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, socially conscious. Yeah, now.
Well, and especially given what we've been talking about, 444 kind of applies because he's talking about buying property and being financially responsible.
Exactly. Put on 444. Yeah.
DJ just dropped the song right now. Love the song. All right. Thank you so much for
guys.
Nice.
Because Bashir, we know Bashir Akinyele, he is house crazy. Him and Natasha, you're definitely going to be at Lincoln Park this weekend because I know y'all love house music.
What they call it, say it's music for the soul, right?
Yes. Natasha was actually down here today as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right. So we are now going to be talking a little bit about some of what we see happening in pop culture.
All right.
Now, I got a question for you.
For me?
For you.
Okay.
Let's change the subject a little bit because we'll get back to some of the things that we're doing at the state. But let's change the subject for a little bit.
Okay.
Were you offended by so many people being offended over this whole Little Mermaid situation?
No, I wasn't offended. I was like, white people gonna be white people. What do we expect? We know who's president. Black girl gets to be a Little Mermaid, so yes. I was not. How am I gonna get offended? I'm just like, racism's racism. I'm immune to it. I've been living with it for a long time. A mermaid can't be black? Really?
A mermaid, a mythical creature that doesn't exist.
She's fictional. It's Disney.
It was like the top of the headlines for an entire week. We have so many children in cages, and we were discussing Little Mermaid on social media.
They ain't mad about the children in cages.
Yeah.
They ain't mad about the children on the border.
Yeah.
But God done it, black mermaid.
Yeah, craziness. So the only thing I really have to say about it is if Elizabeth Taylor can play Cleopatra,
right,
then this sister can play the Little Mermaid.
Well, I see Cleopatra actually existed though. Like she wasn't a fictional character. She was really black.
She was really black. Elizabeth Taylor really played her.
Right, really white. So yeah. Yes, absolutely.
That is very, very interesting to me. So now let's listen.
And 007 will be black woman. Yeah.
Well, listen, I heard Idris Elba.
Well, no, actually, in the actual movie, that 007 is being played by a black woman. Oh. It's not James Bond, but the new designation of 007.
Okay.
And it's a black woman who's in the movie.
And I'm here for it.
Right.
I'm here for it. We're doing some great things.
And I believe the movie's being written by two.
Yeah.
So the next James Bond movie is going to be written by two women for obvious reasons of trying to play with the character and the history of the character and the misogyny that was like inherent in the character, but they try to push that forward.
Yeah. So you know what? Anyone that knows me knows that I can only stay things but so long before we talk about actually what's happening in
5 seconds, right?
In our country and what's going on and what we should be paying attention to. And I really just want to shout out for a second the ACLU, who's been pushing an entire Know Your Right campaign around what's happening with the border crisis.
Right.
And
it's not even a border crisis because they're coming all over the country and they're trying to like round people up in the city near you.
No, absolutely. So I want to just share some tidbits of what they've been putting out. And please go to the ACLU website, American Civil Liberty Union, and check them out. It's in different languages. I'm about to read it. It's in French, Spanish, so many different languages. But it's if ICE shows up at the door, what you should do.
Don't open it.
That's the first part. The number one thing is don't open the door. Be calm. You have rights.
Okay.
Okay. The second thing is ask what they're there for, and ask for an interpreter if you need one.
So, because you close the door, you might not need number two. But if you happen to open the door the way in, then ask for a lawyer.
That's right. Well, not a lawyer, an interpreter.
Right.
If you need one.
That's right. Pretend not to speak English. And if they try to speak Spanish, pretend not to be able to speak Spanish. Like, no habla inglés.
Make up a language that doesn't exist. Start speaking Pig Latin or
Wakandan. Speak Wakandan.
Okay, so the third thing is if they ask to enter, ask if they have a warrant. This is the important part. Okay. Signed by a judge.
Because they have warrants.
And if so, ask to see through a window or slip it under the door.
Because there are administrative warrants, and then there are warrants signed by a judge, right?
Right. So it has to be signed by a judge. And an ICE administrative warrant, okay, it's Form I-200 or I-205. Okay, it does not allow them to enter your home without consent, and that's Form I-200 or I-205. So,
ICE warrants aren't worth the paper they're on.
Okay. So, yes.
You're like my translator.
You're like my translator, and I love it. Okay. So if they force their way in, don't resist. Tell everyone in the residence to remain silent.
If they treat you like you're black, just shut up. Don't say a word. Like, don't even pretend to be able to speak any language. Just everybody be silent.
Everybody be silent.
And stay that way.
Remain silent and do not sign anything until you speak to a lawyer. There are lawyers that are even volunteering to do this. So don't think that it's an economic thing. There are people that are watching what's happening at the border crisis. There are people that are watching the raids that are absolutely outraged, myself included, in this outrage, who see this as there was a very famous saying that happened in the Holocaust, and it said, never again. That was a part of the motto. And there are many people who feel like never again is now. So, there are lawyers that are out there, and they are, volunteering even to make sure that you are going to be able to know your rights. And this is important because although we realize that those being targeted for this, we have to understand that, again, out of the Holocaust, the Protestant pastor who had that quote, first they came for this person, I wasn't matter, but then they came for me, and there was nobody around to say anything.
Right.
So, we have to recognize that this is for all of our brothers and sisters, and what to do.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are volunteering. There are a lot of free lawyers that are out there, but I think, right, because they're going to try to lie. They're going to try to get you to sign stuff. They're going to try to get you to do all kinds of stuff, and just say no. No, just say nothing.
Say nothing.
Say nothing.
And if they arrest you, ask for an attorney. So I'm going to give you some more tidbits. This is what happens if the ICE agent is at your workplace. And again, shout out to the ACLU for their Know Your Rights campaign. So 1, ask if you're free to leave. If so, you may calmly walk out. 2, you have the right to refuse consent to a search. Say out loud that you do not consent to a search of your belongings.
Just like if you were black and driving a car. No, can't search me. Nope.
Shout out to Jay-Z, 99 questions.
Right, 99, yeah, 99 problems. Right.
Yeah, 99 problems.
Right.
That's right. Oh, it's 50 with 21 questions. See?
Right.
All right. For 3, you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to discuss your immigration status with anyone, such as where you were born, whether you are a citizen, or how you entered the country. But if you have a valid immigration, you should show them. Never provide fake documents. Don't do that.
Yeah, not at all.
Don't do that. 4, if you are arrested, say that you wish to until speaking with your lawyer. And 5, you have the right to record your interaction with immigration agents as long as you do not interfere. So definitely record. We all have these cell phones and
street reporters. We street reporters.
Us, and there is no illegal human in
Newark. One of the things that one of my side projects that I had was the Association of Undocumented Americans, and I have a lot of debaters who work like full time on immigration and activism issues, and they would very much appreciate. I know they appreciate the stuff that you just did just now.
Yeah,
because a lot of it's spreading information that is necessary.
No, totally. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things before I know we're going to have to wrap up soon that we're doing at the state, and some of the bills that were just passed that really matter to people.
The hardest working woman in the state legislature.
No doubt, absolutely.
Well, there's a lot of hardworking women.
Fair.
And we're all doing our thing, you know?
Fair.
So this is a Downey bill.
And there are folks asking questions.
Asking questions?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Let me tell you about this Downey bill, and then we're going to go right to the questions.
Yes.
So I was privileged to be one of the sponsors on this bill, but now it is illegal. It is absolutely illegal for your employer to ask any salary history question. When you go on your job interview and they say to you, and you were trying to leave the job because they weren't paying you what you were worth, and now you're getting ready to get your dream job, and you're looking at the company and you're like, wow, this is going to be great, and then they hit you with the 1-2, and it's, well, how much did last job pay you? And you really don't want to lie because a part of you kind of feel like, well, maybe they have some. You don't want to be in the habit of like lying, you know, to this interviewer, and you don't want to be like, well, listen, I'm not answering that question.
None of your business.
Right? That's what you want to say, but you don't really.
None of you. That's how I made.
Yeah, you feel like you can't really say that, so you don't want to lose the job opportunity. But now you need to know that they can no longer ask that question that continues to perpetuate the wage gap, and particularly for women as well as minorities that make pennies on the dollar in comparison to non-minorities.
Wait, so you basically, like, and the people who helped you with this legislation.
Downey, this is a Downey bill. Yes, and I was just played a role in it, small role, and she was the prime sponsor. So
this Downey bill, basically they looked at how they were trying to rip off women and minorities, and really the technology behind that was the question. They'd be like, well, how much did you make in your last job? Now they know they have $90,000 to pay you.
Right.
But in your last job, they kind of ripped you off. You're making 50.
Right.
You know, we got this job here, but you see, you're black or you're a woman, or, you know, right. So we might not have to pay you what we were going to.
Yes, so this is actually something that's primarily going to help out minorities as well as women. But let's talk about how poverty doesn't have a color either. So this helps out people of all ethnicities too, even those who are Caucasian but poor. Right. So if you're not making a good salary, but obviously you're interviewing for a better job, then them asking that question is discriminating, and it's keeping the poor while also keeping the money in the pockets of those who own the companies. So, you know, it is something that definitely helps out with the racial issues and things that we experience, but it's really going to help out across the board with poverty, period. Yeah. So let's go to some questions, Brother Bashir.
Yes. This is Brother Bashir Muhammad Akinyele. What's good, everyone? All right. So the questions coming through social media. This question comes from Scarlett Bivens. She says that this question is off topic a little. She said, "But what are we going to teach youth about stepping out of modern day slavery?" This is the question she has for you, some woman.
What are we going to do about teaching youth how to step out of modern day slavery? Yes. I guess I need her to define what she sees modern day slavery going as. But let's talk about something else that's happening at the state, which I think could also answer her question.
Right.
So there's been talks of detention centers that are going to be allegedly built. Let's just say that there's a roughly around $170 million earmarked. And there's been a bond taken out to construct new detention centers in 3 different parts of the state. Allegedly, Newark has been one of those sites selected. And I'm saying allegedly because all of the plans seem to be up in the air. But something that isn't up in the air is the Legislative Black Caucus under the leadership of Senator Ron Rice, that we have come out and said several different things about which, again, in theme with what she's saying about modern day slavery, which I would define as, she defines it, maybe you can ask her. But, you know, we want to see, we don't want to see, we do not want to see the detention center built anywhere in the state. We want such a beautiful thing that you do as an educator and things, you know, we want to see it in program, extracurricular activities, and in education. Our schools should not be separate Our schools should not be unequal. Everyone should have good books, technology, the things that they need and the tools to learn. And we want to see that 170 million diverted to be put into that. And we also want to see the decriminalization of marijuana, okay? Because there are people that are being arrested for low-level offenses. And as we know, and let's talk for a quick second about, we just talked about ICE. And how, you know, there's advocates out there fighting and are upset about the immigration facility and the money in which government entities are able to make off of ICE detainees.
Private prisons?
But it's not, it's also, it's public dollars too, okay? And most people, and you know, Michelle Alexander is the one that told the story the best, okay? It is not just ICE, okay? The new Jim Crow, Michelle Alexander talked about how Black and brown bodies in prisons, in the jails, in the detention centers have been used to generate revenue based off of, maybe it's the federal government paying the county for having the bed full. However, it's working, okay? And you have to also recognize that most of the people who are in those jails are not violent offenders who have committed heinous crimes. So listen, I'm not so far to the left where I think that we don't need, you know, detention facilities and we don't need jails. No. There's a time and a place.
You're not Angela Davis talking about like Abolish Prisons. It's a brilliant book. I love the book, but you're not there.
No, there's a time and a place. There's some people that need to be in jail. Okay, if you're a rapist, you're a murderer. You gonna lock them up. Okay, you know, However, there are times where, you know, low-level offenses and you know, being charged for marijuana, not having the money for an attorney. Let's talk about the injustice in our criminal justice system too. Now, someone who had money for a great attorney could be walking scot-free, but someone who didn't have the money for attorney could be behind bars, and again, now it's generating that revenue for the government. So Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow, you guys should read it. So that's what I would say as to what that comment was about. But you know, we are standing strong as the caucus down in Trenton, asking for these things and quite a few other things.
It's like we need a school-to-school pipeline. We don't need a school-to-prison pipeline.
That is correct. That is correct.
All right. That's what I'm talking about. You know, John, we're getting close to that. You know,
we're getting close to DJ Rhino time.
Absolutely,
DJ
brother.
Rhino.
Yes.
But now, do we have other questions? Do we have any other?
That was it. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, that was it so far. Again, you know, folks, if you want to ask any questions, you can chime in at 973-353-5746. That number again is 973-353-5746. If you want to ask questions through social media, just, you know, hit us up on our Facebook page, hit us up on our Twitter page, all right, and give your questions or comments.
I do want to say,
Councilwoman Williams is on the mic, y'all. All right, here we go, baby. Here we go. All right, here we go. No, seriously, here you go.
The violets in the room. I didn't see the violets down there. Okay. What I would like to say is that as we're winding down, DJ Rhino, I want to remind people that I'm going to say 3 statements. I've been in 3 meetings today, and I said these 3 statements. I'm going to continue to say these 3 statements. Orange, New Jersey has approximately 17,000 voters. We just had the primary back in June, and we only had 600 voters.
Wow. Wait, 600?
Out of 17. And
wait, only 600, like the primary that we did all that stuff for.
Yes.
That primary, where we had all the politicians come in. 600
for Orange, we didn't have a local race. We had the primary for the assembly. We didn't have a local municipal, right? But if we went to East Orange, we stay at like Essex County, we stay at like 30%. I need people, and perhaps we'll talk about that next show about how people look at when you go for funding and things like that. Those people don't care, you know. So I need people to get out and vote. The second thing. November 6th is election, and people have to come out and vote. You know, your vote speaks volumes. 2020 is upon us, and we're going to have 2 major things. We have a presidential election and census, and they both matter, and they both have long-term consequences. So,
what's in 2019 November? What's up for re-election? What is that election about?
You want to take that?
Yeah, I will. So you're electing your state representatives, such as myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, we're on the ballot.
I thought your election already happened.
So there's a primary and a general. So the primary election is to determine who's going to run as a certain political party. So that was to determine who would be the Democrat candidate and who would be the Republican candidates that would run then in November. So I had Democratic challengers. I just want to shout out All Politics Are Local, and I want to thank you for all of your support and everything, and even for bringing me in to help me get my message out to talk to the voters, because we were and I, as well as Assemblyman Giblin, are now the Democratic candidates running in November, and we are running against Republican challengers. You know, we really have to wake up, people, and I don't want to hear, I don't vote, my vote doesn't count. Are you kidding me? Do you see what we have in the White House? Like, you got to get with it, and your vote definitely does count. Let me tell you something. I was on the State House floor, and there was another colleague of mine, Assemblyman Zwicker, who did a great bill, along with Assemblywoman Sumter, who is trying to make it so that if you are getting health care as a woman by your job, that they cannot say, yeah, we're going to pay for your health care, but we're not going to pay for your birth control in that health care plan because our religion, we don't believe in that. I think that's a slippery slope in the country, but also in New Jersey. There was a store that's famous for the lawsuit, and that's Hobby Lobby, because that's what they were doing. It's a craft store, so you know, I don't frequent that place because of that. But it's a slippery slope, because there's some people who don't. Some people's faiths, they may not believe in blood transfusions, right? So if you're an employee of mine, and I have a faith where I don't believe in a blood transfusion, does that mean that now we should cancel that out? Like, no. If the healthcare plan should be able to pay for what, and politics should not be in a person's bedroom or healthcare plan. You know, a life is a life, and everyone has a decision that they need to make about their own personal life. So anyway, while on the floor of the state, two Republican men stood up and argued against Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker's bill, who happens to also be a male, but he was a male who was on the right side of the issue. And I stood up and simply pointed out that I found it interesting that it was two males, Republican, who were arguing against this woman's, you know, a woman's right in her healthcare plan to have birth control, and was called by a Republican. His name is Jay Weber, and they're currently trying to flip that district. Fort Gang is running, as well as Christine Clark in that district, and they're looking to flip it and get rid of Jay Weber, who stood on the floor and called me a bigot, which was hilarious. Yeah. Well, let me clear. He referred to me as a bigot. That woman was there. Weren't you there? Were you there that day? No, okay, sometimes she comes to hang out.
So I got something for him. The next time he proposes that bill about women's health control, there should be something, you know, that might make sense if what you do is take away funding for Viagra from healthcare plans.
Hello, how about that? But what's interesting is that I'm telling you these things because as Democrats, we really need to come together.
That's right.
Stop arguing about who's more progressive than who and this and that. We should absolutely be holding each other accountable. Don't get what I'm saying twisted. But let me tell you something. We are really battling. Our bits are preserved.
Go ahead.
It is under Republican leadership that we are seeing children in cages down at the border. It is under Republican leadership that they are being ordered to have ICE raids, okay? And if you believe in what we believe in as Democrats in democracy, we need to band together, because I'm always reminded as I'm on the floor that these are the things in which we are really truly fighting to keep. These are the rights that we do not want to lose, not only as women, and we're also trying to, but as people in general, but we're trying to gain ground. And that was a ground gain situation. So in November, you're voting for the Democrats versus the Republicans versus anyone else who has the name on the ballot, whether it be independent or what. And you're choosing your state leadership. You're choosing us who are going to go down there, who are going to determine whether or not we're going to fight hard against detention centers being built or not. So please vote in November. We need you. Stay woke. You gotta vote.
That's what's up. All
right. Well, look, I'm glad I asked the question.
No doubt.
I didn't know you.
But
were,
this is John. No doubt. No, it's not over. No, it's always something going on politically. But this is the reason why, you know, John, Ed, and myself, we created, you know, the show. Ed is the creator. Big shout out to Ed Riley. All right.
Happy 15th anniversary, my man.
No doubt. Big shout out to Ed Riley. Yes, man. No doubt. But my brother Ed, you know, he had a vision, And you know, he manifested that in this radio show, and he asked us to, you know, the help of many of others to help with this radio show. But one of the things that we definitely wanted to do was educate our listeners, educate our community on politics. All right, because you already know this, Assemblywoman. A lot of our people, particularly African Americans, are very tuned up, and rightly so. I get it. You know, I used to be one of them.
Especially your friends, man.
I used to be one of them.
Your friends, we don't vote.
Exactly.
Like, come on,
absolutely. They kind of say, brother, they didn't release our political prisoners, I don't vote.
Right,
Brothers, they didn't give us reparations, I don't vote. Others, they don't do this and they don't do that.
We're talking about now, reparations.
Right.
So when you select your national candidate, you should be listening to what they have to say about that and vote.
Right. But I'm saying this is why we created the show, so we can educate our people on and people in general, but particularly our people. I'm talking about Black folk, about the science of voting, the science of politics, the science of policies, and because I'm telling you, John said I was one of them. Assemblywoman Timberlake, I'm telling you,
you were one of just your friends around. I remember you used to come back.
You didn't vote.
No, I did not vote.
You didn't vote.
I didn't vote. I didn't believe in the political system. I didn't believe in government. I didn't believe in it.
You're reformed, non-voter.
Absolutely.
For many years.
Absolutely. It took some years.
And people now look to you.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying absolutely. I mean, they're like, Brother Bashir, I don't vote because they didn't give us reparations. Or I didn't vote because they didn't release the political prison. I didn't vote because I didn't like the principal at
that would say that. Right.
So, and I'm like,
when I called the mayor once, he didn't respond.
He didn't respond. So I don't.
That kind of attitude is. I have a mentor who says that's just like drinking poison, hoping that the other person dies.
Wow.
So now you're not voting because of something. You're a one-man protest. Meanwhile, collectively, a lot of those issue protesters, not voting. Now we have someone in office who is definitely not, pushing forward an agenda of inclusion. And again, it is about humanity. Our very humanity is being questioned right now. What's happening on the national level, and guess what? That stuff trickles down. Okay, it's trickling down. I visited my sister in North Carolina. Truth, right? She just bought a house in a neighborhood, beautiful home. I'm so proud of her. Shout out to my sister Keisha.
Awesome.
She's an
educator.
And you know what? Up the street, there was a house that had a American flag, a Trump 2020 flag under it. On their property, which is down south, so it's a large parcel of property. There were old army tanks. And there was a sniper tower.
Wow, they're ready.
Okay.
They're ready for
and
the
there
war.
were signs on the lawn about revolution.
Right.
And of course, I know we've reported them and things, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. It's a hatred, an ideology of hatred. So we really have to work together as human beings. Not one of us, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, is being put down because we've come too far as a society to go backwards.
Well, no, you actually you're on point, But I'm saying that there's some of us, Assemblywoman Timberlake, that do not believe in the vote, don't believe in the political system or the government, And so we educate them every Friday. We educate folk with people like you, Councilman Williams, who come in, on these mics and talk about what actually happens on what actually happens at the State House, what actually happens at city halls, because a lot of people don't know because they don't come out. They're like, I don't come to the
house to the White House.
Exactly. I don't come to the State House. What I need to go down there for? But again, me being out, I'm an activist, and again, I used to rally against folk. But Mayor Barack used to say to us back in the day, when he started to run for office, he used to say, we end our rallies at City Hall. He said, you know what? We got to get up in there.
Well, I have one thought.
Go ahead. We got to close out.
Let DJ Ryan,
yes.
Let DJ Ryan speak to us with music right now. And Assemblywoman, I'm going to ask you a different question. So based on this whole theme of tonight, what would be the song or that will capture the theme for you tonight? Is there a song?
Yeah, so I think the song that would capture the theme for me would be Bob Marley's War.
Wow.
Everywhere there's war.
He talks about world citizenship. being desired. He talks about until that day where a man's color of his skin is no more significant than the color of his eyes, the peace is going to be hard to achieve. So what he's talking about is brotherly love and humanity across all boards, socioeconomic statuses, helping those who are in poverty and just seeing one another as human beings, not doing always this, black versus white versus immigrant versus citizen versus, but coming together as human beings. And I think Bob Marley is just a beautiful musical genius.
Yeah, the West tour last night at AJ Penn.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what's up. That's what's up. Assemblywoman Timberlake. We're so honored that you are our guest co-host today. You did a great job as usual. All right, and you're always welcome back here anytime. Please, anytime you need to talk about anything, especially when it comes to the State House. All right,
all that hard work you do.
Yes,
Appreciate that.
Thank you.